Psychoanalyzing video game characters is one of my favorite hobbies, but even I have to admit that this one is going to be challenging for me. The infamous Franklin Clinton of Los Santos, formerly a repo thug for a shady businessman, turned millionaire after completing one of the best heists known to man. But behind that wall of money, the fake bravado, and the strip club visits hides a person that's ashamed to be who he is. A man that wants nothing more than to melt away into the background while simultaneously being the biggest name in the industry. This is the first video in a mini-series where I psychoanalyze and explain the three main protagonists, or antagonists, of GTA 5. So sit back and join me while I tear down the wall that is the psychology behind Franklin Clinton. First, it's important to set some ground rules for this video and for the follow-up videos talking about Franklin's lucrative business partners. Rule number 1, psychopathy and sociopathy are off the table. I hope this goes without saying, but all of these characters are absolutely insane. Between the three of them, not even counting what the player does in their own time, they murder a small country's worth of people throughout the course of the main story. So I won't be saying that any of these characters are psychopaths, because that's implied by their very existence. Most people get severe PTSD after taking 1 or 2 lives while at war, and Franklin barely stutters after the first 1,000 or so. Also, you can literally add psychopathy to any other diagnosis I give, and it would remain accurate. These people are murder-craving lunatics, but saying as much isn't a new observation. I want to really look into the story of these characters and try to come up with a new conclusion. Or at least one more interesting than murder bad. Rule number 2, the player's non-story decisions are not going to count for this analysis. Everyone plays GTA 5 differently. Some of us stop at the red lights, others run over every elderly woman we can find, not judging. So it would be unfair to take into account what the players could do as the characters if they wanted. It should also go without saying that cheats won't be included in my analysis either, because I too would struggle with being a good person if I were an unkillable walking tank that had infinite ammo. And finally, rule number 3, each character is their own masterpiece. That means that while other characters in the game may have had an effect on the mental state of whatever character we're discussing, the videos are going to primarily focus on how that specific person feels, acts, or behaves. For example, although Lamar is a major factor in why Franklin is the way he is, we'll only be focused on Lamar when it's relevant to Franklin's story. The idea behind this rule is to try to keep each video focused on only the main character of that video. This mainly stems from the fact that GTA is not a story that overly focuses on the trio, but instead overlays dozens of other characters to help build the true narrative of the game. Therefore, there will be gross oversimplifications just to get the point across. And with that, let's get into the rest of the video. When starting a new GTA 5 playthrough, the players are immediately dropped into Franklin and his friend Lamar trying to repossess 2 sports cars whose owner was apparently past due. I say apparently because Simeon, their boss and car dealership owner, is known for selling someone a car and repossessing it before the first payment is even due. Even if Simeon lets you keep the car until the first payment, the interest rate is high enough to be a resident of Detroit. It's here we see Franklin continuing his work for the scammer, even after being involved in a shootout over a repossessed motorcycle. It all comes to a halt though when Franklin is caught stealing the car of legendary bank heister Michael Townley, now Michael DeSanta. After having a gun rammed into the back of his head and having been forced to drive through the dealership in the stolen vehicle, Franklin finds himself unemployed and a bit down on his luck. Right before this mission, the player gets introduced to Stretch and Lamar sets up a drug meet with the person you literally kidnapped 1 mission prior. Like I said, this video is about Franklin, but Jesus H. Christ, I can make an entire video filled with just examples of Lamar being the dumbest son of a bitch in the entire game. Probably second only to Michael's son. But we'll get to him, don't you worry. Going back to Franklin, after barely escaping this failed drug meet turned assassination plot, he walks in on Michael's wife having an affair while the dude literally walks out of his house. The balls on that man. Michael does the only sane and rational thing that one does in this situation and pulls his fucking house down. This video is about Franklin, this video is about Franklin, this is about... Michael has now pissed off Martin Madrazo and needs to come up with $2.5 million somehow to pay him off. You know, for the house he pulled down. So Michael, again, rationally like one does, plans a jewelry store heist to come up with the money and decides to have Franklin tag along to gain some experience in the industry. For the sake of this video's length and for my own personal sanity, that's all of the story that we're going to cover. However, this is more than enough for us to draw some conclusions about Franklin Clinton. To begin, I would like to introduce our options for today. First up, we have generalized anxiety disorder. With constant worry and anxiety creeping in from every direction, it's no wonder Franklin regrets every decision he has ever made, which if you're wondering, does include regretting every decision he has ever made. This is something I myself am diagnosed with, and I can definitely empathize with Franklin. I have never murdered anyone, or stole a car, or sold drugs, or got shot at, but I get it. Franklin is constantly putting himself in positions that can get him killed, and a part of me thinks it's because he just doesn't want to live anymore. Now, I'm not saying he's suicidal, just that he doesn't think he has anything to live for. His home situation is a mess with his aunt, his parents are out of the picture, his girlfriend left him, and his only friend is Lamar.
Maybe you got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got, you get some bitches on your dick.
I think you would be pretty upset at life too. But there is another choice that I'm debating as well, and that's paranoia. All this murdering, carjacking, and heisting has Franklin constantly looking over his shoulder in fear of getting caught. Franklin is constantly seen talking about getting caught and is genuinely surprised when things go well for him. He lets out the man you kidnap in the van out of fear of being tracked. Now, these are low-level street gangsters, and I highly doubt that they can trace calls and triangulate their position. But he was so sure of this happening, so positive, that he let the man out right there and destroyed Lamar's phone to prevent it from being tracked. That's why I'm putting paranoia on the table as well, because Franklin is always worried someone is genuinely coming for him. However, can you really be classified as paranoid if someone really is out to get you? The last option I've picked to mull over is depression, coupled with an extreme amount of self-hatred. Whether it's running away from his past or avoiding any future he's in, Franklin is constantly looking out for numero uno. Who is numero uno? I have no idea, but I know for a fact it definitely isn't Franklin. Surprisingly though, Franklin blames everyone around him for his shortcomings and tries to avoid those he feels close with, and upon shallow review, you may just be fooled into thinking that it's because he does not like these people. But in reality, I believe that it's because a big part of him hates himself, and thinks that exiting these people's lives only makes them better. Franklin never feels like he's on the up and up, and is always concerned that anything can bring him back down. He reminds me a lot of Dr. Foreman from House MD, who constantly talks about feeling like at any moment the hood can just grab him back up. You can almost see the imposter syndrome dripping from him from a distance. This is best exemplified by how Franklin treats Tanya at the beginning of the game. Tanya asks you for help with her boyfriend's tow trucking business, and Franklin mocks her the whole time, always saying that they're bums and they have no life because they rely on the hood for their lifestyle and are constantly doing drugs. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that this is Franklin projecting his biggest fear onto her, using Tanya as the prime example of what he's actually trying to run away from. Because he still sees a lot of himself in Tanya, and he doesn't think that it would be difficult to slip back down to her level again. With all this information laid down on the table, I think I'm finally ready to give my opinion on his diagnosis. Franklin Clinton is a damaged man who doesn't think that he is worth saving. He fundamentally believes that he is forever trapped in this Dante's Inferno that he can never escape from. He doesn't believe that there is any way for him to live a normal life, and when Michael presents a dangerous life with riches beyond belief, or death, Franklin takes it almost immediately. However, it wasn't just Michael that did all this damage to Franklin. No matter how much he claims to hate Lamar, he is constantly sticking out his own neck to protect him. Some may say that this is just an example of brotherhood or loyalty, but I think that that's a very oversimplified explanation. I believe that Franklin is using his friendship with Lamar as a link to his past life. Franklin doesn't want to be friends with Lamar, he needs to be. Because choosing to walk away means accepting that you are more than your current life. It means that you can see the possibility of getting out of the hole you're stuck in. And Franklin doesn't see that as an option. Ultimately, I've gone with moderate to severe depression, severe self-loathing, and generalized anxiety. I decided to ditch the paranoia claim simply because his lifestyle warrants a little bit of worry from time to time. Or all of the time, in reality. To me, Franklin is the most interesting case out of the trio, because I believe he is the only one who wasn't too far gone when we started playing. Yet Franklin truly does believe that he is. There's not a lot of salvation when it comes to Michael or Trevor, but Franklin still had hope of getting out of his life. Michael moves and tries his best but constantly fails, always getting sucked back into the lifestyle. And Trevor is just happy being insane. Franklin, on the other hand, still had a chance of avoiding the whole mess to begin with. Yet he's the only one out of the trio that accepts his fate with total resignation. At the end of the day, Franklin doesn't have the willpower to better himself, and ultimately doesn't want to. I find it ironic that the ending of the game comes down to whatever choice Franklin makes. He's definitely the odd man out from him, Michael, and Trevor, but after making this video, the choice makes a lot of sense. No matter what ending you choose, whether you decide to kill Michael or Trevor or everyone that gets in your way, this choice solidifies Franklin's decisions and his life. This truly is the action that really makes him too far gone. Neither Trevor or Michael could have ever made this choice because they abandoned this idea of hope long ago. But Franklin was in the perfect mental state to do irreparable damage for the rest of his life and become forever entangled in this dark web of murder, lies, and deceit. no matter what he may choose to tell himself. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you made it this far, comment down below, "We still believe in you, Franklin," to show your support. This video was a lot of fun, and I definitely miss making these psychological analysis of iconic characters. The next 2 videos will be in a similar vein, as I will be psychoanalyzing Trevor and Michael in the upcoming week. If you're excited to see these videos, make sure you like and subscribe to this video and turn on that notification bell. I try to post at least once a week and would love to see you around here more often. But that's all from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.